Hey Who fans, welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And we're at episode 157.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought what it's like to be wanderers in the fourth dimension?
Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
There's no point in being grown up if you can't be childish sometimes.
The trouble with time travel is one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear. And it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
I am the Doctor.
Great men are forged in fire. It is the privilege of lesser men to light the flame.
I'm the Doctor. This is Rose Tyler. She's my +1. Is that all right?
That would be me.
Hello. Surprise.
Boom. Etc.
I'm the Doctor. Do everything I tell you. Don't ask stupid questions. And don't wander off.
How can you kidneys? I don't like the colour.
Howdy do Who fans. We're back.
Yee, we're back.
Back in the saddle, as it were. Welcome to 157. Keeping you entertained and informed and all that stuff while there's no new Doctor Who happening. Although there's been a few little updates and stuff going on over the last week or so, which we'll get on to soon.
Yeah.
But we hope you've all had a cracking week and that you've managed to do something Doctor Who related.
Yes.
It's been an interesting week not having a podcast to do.
It has.
Been quite nice.
Yeah.
not having to listen to you for a week.
Oh.
It's been nice.
How cruel.
I thought, what would I normally be doing now on a Wednesday? Oh, yeah, be listening to him bang on about something. Old ads. Banging on. I jest, of course.
Probably about my building work.
I missed you.
Mainly about how it's not been, still not done. Yeah. What did you get up to on your luxury week off?
Oh, it's me to go first, is it?
Yeah.
I haven't really done too much, I'll be honest with you. I've just been a combination of seething, angry, very miffed at the closing of the Doctor Who experience.
Oh no, I know. I saw people were tweeting the picture of the sign being taken down, weren't they? This sort of
yeah.
I was just like, oh no, it's actually happening. Like, it's one thing to know it's coming, but another to see it actually being taken down. I was like, they're not wasting any time. Literally the day after, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or whatever, yeah.
It's terrible. And it's a part of me wishes that I'd have sort of changed my plans to get over there for the last day, really, because apparently it was really busy and they had some cool people there and it was all going on. But I was away, unfortunately. But
did you watch any of the live streams that Crystal and what's his name? The other guy, I've forgotten his name.
Luke.
Was it Luke Spillane? Yeah.
Luke, yeah.
They did a few little live streams during the day, didn't they? Which were quite cool because they were sort of just working their way through the crowds, and Crystal got a funny Mr. Clever thing put on her face, and it was just it's just nice to sort of see what was going on the last day and feel like a part of it and stuff. I thought I'm just really miffed. I mean, I know it's I know it. These things, all good things come to an end, don't they? That's the way to look at it, and I don't know. It just seems really, because they continuously get so many people through the door. Still, it's annoying me that the Cardiff Council haven't done more to sort of save it, because it really is one of the, it's one of the attractions you go to when you go to Cardiff. I mean, I think I've been there 3 times over the years, and every time I've been there, I've seen obviously Doctor Who fans, but I've also seen a lot of people who are not particularly big Doctor Who fans, but they're there with their other halves or with friends or whatever. And you can tell they're having a really cool time, and they just get so many people through the door. So I can understand if the staff were just there twiddling their thumbs and they've got nobody coming in, and they're like, this is ridiculous. We're not doing anything, we're not making any money. Let's just close it. But it's still really popular, and they still get a lot of people there, and it's just heartbreaking.
I know, but I can't help but feel it's all part of the master plan, mate. I just got this feeling. I mean, it is really sad. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's definitely feels like its natural home because it's right next to the studios and stuff. But I don't know. There's a bigger change coming.
I think so. Yeah.
And I just can't help but think, these things get planned really far in advance. So it makes me wonder where they're going to go with it, because I'm pretty sure, those in the know what they're doing, and I'm sure it's going to pop up somewhere else. Absolutely convinced. I'll tell you what was great to see though on the last day was that there was a lot of surprise appearances by Chris Chibnall. Just turned up with his family and was wandering around, and apparently had loads of selfies with fans. And I know a couple of people that were lucky enough to meet him on the day and just said, oh, he was lovely. He was just he was there with his family, but he was really engaging with fans and happy to chat, and seems really buzzing about the new series. So I was like, wow, that's cool. So it's great to see our new showrunner, having his picture with lots of fans and stuff there. Who else did they have there? They had Jamie, I've forgotten his name now, played the mummy in Mummy on the Orient Express, and he's done loads of extra. He was like a Cyberman and stuff like that. He was there. Mike Tucker, the guy who's been doing a lot of the restoration team. It's quite fascinating listening to him. They did a little interview with him talking about the Yeti, and he was saying that he replaced the light bulbs in its eyes and stuff. So that was really cool to hear him just talking about the work he's done and stuff. So yeah, it was good. It's just nice to see a few Who people there. Peter Capaldi recorded a message, didn't he? Just saying goodbye and thanks for everything. And I can't remember. I don't know if you've seen the video. Somebody put it on YouTube. Just a little private message from Peter because he couldn't be there. So that was pretty cool. I don't know. I was kind of expecting Jodie to be there, but she wasn't. But maybe it might have been a bit full on for her because obviously the place was packed with fans and stuff. So, but yeah, I think it looks like it got a good send off at the end of the day, which is great.
It did,
Yeah. And I don't think we've seen the last of it, mate. It's going to pop up somewhere.
I hope so, because there was a lot of talk, wasn't there, when they announced it was closing, and were they going to relocate it somewhere, which we obviously haven't heard any news about that as yet. But I also want to give a shout out to Bex Faraday. You might have heard of her. She was the Whovian that set up the petition to try and get it saved. So she did a cracking job, and I think at the end there was just shy of 13,000 signatures that she managed to get on there. And she put a really cool video up. I think it was about 2 or 3 months ago now, where she printed out every signature. She printed all of them out and put this big sort of pack together. And she went to the Who Experience and she delivered it to the manager there, and she had a little meeting with him. And I think he was quite touched, really, because she went on to tell him that loads of people actually find that the Who Experience is a cool place to go to kind of escape. Just as watching Doctor Who is a form of escapism. She found she heard from a lot of people who signed the petition to say that their son or daughter that was autistic, absolutely loves it there because for some reason they're just really calm there and they love it. And it basically just touches a lot of people in a way that you wouldn't expect. It's not just a place where you go and look at Doctor Who props because you want to geek out. It's got a bit more of a meaning to it. So that's really nice. So a big shout out to Bex. I know she didn't, achieve the goal of saving the place because I think, the wheel's already in motion by that point. But at least she gave it a good old try. So, yeah, good shout out to Bex for that. But, yeah, like you say, I think changes are coming. I'm hoping that they're going to announce something probably next year by the likelihood of these things. But, as long as it doesn't go to London.
Really? I don't mind if it comes to London.
Well, I thought, well, why don't they just put it back in London? Because the footfall and everything. But I don't know, there's just something special about it not being in London, if that makes sense. Because the show's rarely made in London.
Yeah.
There's something cool about having it somewhere else. I don't know, but...
No, I get you. I mean, it feels like it's natural home because it's right where they film it, and obviously you have to, you can walk across the Mermaid Quay, and I mean that's so prominent. It's been in Doctor Who loads. It's been in Torchwood. It was the Torchwood hub, so it feels like the natural place for it to be. But yeah, it'd be really ironic if they just move it to the other side of the quay or something. You know what I mean? They just unveil it and it's just on the other side of the BBC studios or something. Like, yeah, there it is. But no, we'll see. Something's going to be happening, I'm sure.
Yeah. So not much really being angry about that. I've watched a couple more McCoys because it's obviously his anniversary month at the moment, which is very cool. I picked up his new Big Finish, actually, the Silurian Candidate.
Oh, saw the cover for that. Looks really nice.
Yeah, really cool. I've listened to the first episode and it's cracking, mate. Straight off the bat, episode 1 is really, really good. So,
is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, really good. So I'll finish listening to that. Other than that, buddy, not much. I've seen quite a few pics that you've been putting on where you've been out and about recently. What have you been up to?
I've had a very busy week, actually. Very busy. I might as well start with Mr. McCoy himself, actually, because I met him on Saturday, just gone. He was at the London Film Fair in Westminster, and he was sat next to Terry Malloy and Katie Manning. So so they're all sort of on the table together. And he looked really dapper, mate. I don't know if you saw the picture I got of the three of them, but McCoy looked like he'd really made an effort. He looked very doctorish. I don't know if you thought that. He'd got like this hat on and a sort of long sort of jackety thing with a little tie on, and he just looked like he'd really made the effort, and he looked really cool. And I told him that. I said, "Oh, you look very dapper today, Sylvester," which he appreciated. Katie Manning was there. She's just amazing, that woman. She was just so full of energy, and at one point she grabbed Sylvester, and I mean literally grabbed him from behind the table. And the next thing I know, they're like swinging each other around the room, dancing. Katie was leading, I have to tell you, because the picture on Syl's face, I don't think he knew what hit him, but it was an amazing moment just to see those two having so much fun. And I don't even know what the dancing was for. I think Katie just fancied a dance. There was no music or anything. And Terry Malloy was just stood there taking pictures of them, and then the three of them posed for pictures. So that was really nice. Just so nice to meet Katie Manning again. Bernard Cribbins was there as well. I finally managed to get a nice picture with Bernard, because he does have a tendency of moving around a lot, which is not great if you're trying to take a picture on an iPhone. So that was cool. But my big thing from last week, mate, was I finally, and this has been a long time coming, I finally got to meet Russell T Davies, somebody that I've always wanted to meet. It's a big thing for me, because about 5 or 6 years ago, I was sat on Old Compton Street having a beer, and I had a bag full of Doctor Who figures. It was when the sort of first sort of classic ones come out, and they all come with a little body part of the robot, and bought all the figures to build it. So I'd gone out and bought all of them so I could build the robot. And I was sat there with this massive bag of figures when Russell, walks past me.
Whoa.
And I just bought a drink, and it was back in the Hoot days. What would that have been? The David Tennant days, obviously, because he's wearing this big long grey coat that he was always in.
Yes. Yeah.
And of course I was like, Russell, down the drink as quick as I could and run after him to get a picture, and he vanished into thin air. God knows where he went. So I've always been so close, I'm like, I nearly met Russell once. So he's been doing a book signing with James Goss recently. Which I think Doctor Who Facebook page live streamed. I don't know if you watched any of it.
I did.
Apparently the sound was really bad.
Yeah.
It was fine there, but apparently, you couldn't really hear it on the live stream. So Crystal D interviewed Russell T Davies and James Goss about their new book called Now We Are 600, which is a poetry book. I think you've pre-ordered it, haven't you? Or you're getting it? Or
yes, yeah.
You're gonna love it. Yeah. It might sound odd having a book about poetry and Doctor Who, but it's such a nice book, and Russell's done all the drawings in it. So they did a signing afterwards, and they got a nice picky with him, and he signed his Writer's Tale book, and I was just absolutely made up. And I've just got to say this, he is absolutely everything I imagined. Like when you're really looking forward to meeting someone, but you're not quite sure what, are they going to be nice? Are they going to speak? Are they going to be quiet? He is exactly as you'd imagine him. He's just really chatty, really friendly. And it was just such a nice experience. So I finally ticked that box and got a picture with RTD. So
nice one, buddy.
And the book's lovely. You're going to love it. Honestly, I've been reading through it. Most of it's quite jokey in the sort of tone of the poems.
Yeah.
And then the very last poem at the back is quite sentimental, actually. So you're really going to love it. And really nice, cool little pics by Russell.
Oh, nice one. I'm waiting for that to be delivered. Actually, I'm not sure where that is as yet. But I did get a cool Who book
day before yesterday. We spoke a little bit about this Tales of Terror, this kind of spooky Doctor Who book that's, so that was delivered. That looks really, really cool. The cover is really cool.
It's nice. Funny enough, I met up with our good friend Adam, the Ultimate Whovian.
Oh, yes.
And he bought that book the day I met him. So I had a quick flick through it. I didn't buy it because I'd already spent enough. But it does look really nice, yeah.
Yeah, it's got like the characters on the front, like their eyes are these little red sort of sparkly things. And and it just looks really cool. So, I'm not sure about...
it does look nice.
Yeah, I'm not sure about picking up the audio book, but... Yeah.
Oh, who's reading it, or is it different people? Can't remember now.
It's different people. Different people are reading it. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Good one for Halloween. That.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's been me, mate. So busy little week. It's gone by in a blur, but it's all been good.
Yeah. So that's us.
Yes.
I say we land the TARDIS and do some news.
I think we should.
How about it? First up, this has been a while coming, this first bit. It was announced the other day, and because we had said long ago that this was done and in the bin.
Yeah.
Pretty much the entire sort of Who fandom had said, this is not going to go anywhere now. I think there was a minority of people that said, no, it's going to be fine, it's coming back. I think it was mainly our US friends, because that's where it did. I think it did quite well over in the US, but the BBC yes, they've officially cancelled Class.
Yeah, they've officially got that hammer, got that nail, and banged it in.
Yeah, because at the moment, before that, it was just the nail that was sort of, it was pushed in via hand. There was not enough force to actually slam it into the coffin. But because we had said for ages, hadn't we, that it must be cancelled because last month Patrick Ness had said, well, I'm not going to be involved in it anymore. I'm not going to write anymore. Yeah. And people took that as a sign, it must be cancelled now. But even then there was a thread of hope for some people because Patrick Ness had said, I'm not saying this on behalf of the BBC. I'm just saying that I'm not going to be writing anymore for it. But he's very proud of it and so on, which is fair enough. But then Damien Kavanagh said, we are not bringing it back. He said there was nothing wrong with it. I thought Patrick did a great job and he explored an amazing world. In honesty, it just didn't really land for us on BBC Three. Things sometimes don't, and I've got to make decisions what we're going to do for drama. He said there are always times when you do something and then you decide that it's not going to come back. Class is just one of those things. Now, we said this right at the beginning, didn't we?
Yeah.
That putting it out on BBC Three, which had only just been converted to an online-only channel, is not going to help because we said at the beginning, how is this going to hold up with BBC Three? Because Class was announced, and we thought, cool, we got a spin-off. This is potentially quite good. And then the BBC said, oh, we're axing BBC Three from the TV. It's only going to be online only, and we thought, this doesn't sound too good. And then when we saw the ratings just, bomb after the first few episodes, it was like, yeah, this is not going to go anywhere. So I think really Patrick Ness, because we said this all along, didn't we, that Patrick Ness didn't do a bad job with coming up with the idea and the concept. It was just the characters were a bit, run of the mill, and it was just sort of average sci-fi. And I think we said that it would have been benefited so much more from not being connected to Doctor Who if it was its own thing, And so there was a lot of elements that went against it. But yes, the BBC have now officially pulled the plug. So that means you'll probably be able to pick up those Class novels for like £1 Forbidden Planet at some point soon because, they're clearly isolated and not going anywhere either. So there we go.
So we'll never get the conclusion of that amazing cliffhanger. But no, I would be very surprised if Big Finish don't pick this up. I'll be very surprised. They'll give it another lease of life because although I thought it was atrocious, there were many reasons it bombed. And if I was to put a finger on one of the main reasons, it was the tone of the show was all over the place. It's one of the reasons I couldn't get into it. It was just light-hearted 1 minute, and then suddenly someone would have a sword put through their back, and it's just all over the shop. But I'd be very surprised if Big Finish don't pick that one up, mate. Not that I'd have heard anything because I haven't, but it'd be surprising if they don't.
Yeah.
But it's gone. It's done. It's dusted. Right, let's move on. Have you got a couple of spare thou down the back of the sofa, Gary? Any loose change kicking around the TARDIS your side?
Not down the sofa, but I will check my jean pockets
for a couple of £1,000.
Yeah.
Because if you have, there's a couple of really nice items going up from auction. This is next Tuesday, isn't it? So Tuesday the 26th.
Yes.
So if anybody out there's got a couple of £1,000 handy, and you want to own either Sylvester McCoy's hat, the one that he wore as the Seventh Doctor, which is expected to get around £8,000 to £10,000. That's what they're estimating for it. Or this is really nice, a model that was used, a Necros Dalek model, miniature, that was used in Revelation of the Daleks, the Colin Baker story. So it's one of the white and gold Daleks, which looks really nice. And I don't know about you, mate, I didn't realise they'd used any miniatures in that. I'm assuming it was perhaps one that was blown up. I mean, this doesn't look like it's been blown up, but I assume it was for scenes when they were having to destroy them or something, because that's normally what they use the miniatures for. But yeah, he looks really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And again, he's estimated between £8,000 and £10,000. So it's a Prop Stores Entertainment Memorabilia live auction that these are going into. They're going to have 600 lots of movie memorabilia from various things. So if you've got any money out there, listeners, it might be worth going over to their website and having a look at some of the stuff for sale. As far as I know, it's just these two items from Doctor Who, though. Is that right, Gary? Just the hat and the Dalek, I think.
Yes, that is correct. I haven't seen any other items from there, but I have to say, mate, if you've got a lot of money to burn, then this particular auction is it's pretty unbelievable. I'm talking about the original Batman suit worn by Val Kilmer in Batman Forever.
Oh.
I'm talking about the original egg from the first Aliens movie.
Oh, I wouldn't mind that. Yeah, quite like
some of the Aliens weapons and some loads of Batman stuff. But yeah, Sylvester McCoy's hat. It's actually got the proper. It is the actual hat, by the way. It's got the proper leather interior strap thing, and it's got the address of the suitor place where it was originally bought and stuff like that. It's really cool, and that's expected to go for £8,000 to £10,000 in the end.
Right.
So yeah.
So am I going to see you dressed as Val Kilmer's Batman when we next record?
Potentially. They've also got.
That'd be interesting.
They've also got Martin.
Imagine if you're dressed. Sorry. Imagine if you're dressed up as Batman next week. We haven't told each other. We just open up Skype to record, and you're dressed as Batman, and I'm sat there with Syl's hat plonked on my head, like a pork pie.
Yeah. But no, they've got Marty McFly's original Nike trainers from Back to the Future, and the original Ghostbusters overalls that they wore in the original film, and there's just so much, mate. The original Gremlins models and stuff from Guardians. This auction is going to raise a ton of money. It's just going to go for silly money. So, but yes, the two Doctor Who items are there. So, get on there if you like. Adam said, if you've got a spare thou knocking around.
Mm-hmm. Also, there is if anyone's up in London this weekend that the podcast goes out. So basically, if you're up in London before the 26th of September, get yourself over to the BFI IMAX, because there's a free exhibition of quite a lot of this stuff. I think about 300 pieces. So you could go and have a look at the lovely items before they get sold for free if you happen to be up in London. So that's at the BFI IMAX till the 26th, I believe, and then the auction is going to be live streamed. So that'd be quite interesting actually to watch it to see how much these things go for. Yeah, it's quite fun. I don't know if you've ever been to an auction, but you get quite wrapped up in it. It's quite good fun.
You do, yeah. And it's very dangerous as well.
Oh, it's very dangerous. Don't sign up. Whatever you do, don't sign up to bid, because even if you think you're not gonna, you will inevitably.
Of course. Yeah.
So I might watch a bit of that.
There we go. I think it would be really cool to own McCoy's hat. I'm just saying.
I would love it. Yeah.
Anyways, moving on. Right, Big Finish.
Yes.
They dropped a wee bit of a clanger the other day. I say clanger, not really a clanger. A belter. A news snippet. So David Bradley will be joining the Big Finish team as the first Doctor Adventures lands. Volume 1. I think it's November. Is it November? Something like that. December, sorry. Mid-December. Volume 1 drops from Big Finish. So, yeah, David Bradley's coming back. It's going to be the original cast where when the Doctor first kicked off his adventures. So it's going to be Susan, Ian and Barbara. And I saw a very cool picture on Twitter yesterday of David Bradley with the other cast members of Big Finish with Nicholas Briggs. And it's really surreal to watch that because to see that because it's very, very similar to. I mean, it feels like a snapshot in time, but not now. It's really hard to explain, but it feels like.
I do know what you mean. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's. It
reminds you of the old days of when they used to sort of announce the Doctor with a new companion at BBC Television Centre or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a really cool picture as well because it's a really good quality. Normally, they just at Big Finish, someone's just got their phone and they just sort of snap everybody in the staircase. It seems to be the thing. But this is a really cool quality photo, and I don't know. I'm very, very excited about this because, and I bet David Bradley is loving life at the minute because
he's loving it.
I would assume that once he'd finished an adventure in space and time a few years back, he probably thought that was it. It was a one-off thing, and he's never, why would he ever come back and do anything more Doctor Who related? It's just crazy. But then he's in the Christmas special now. He's playing Hartnell in the at Big Finish. He must just be loving it at the minute.
Yeah, I think so. And I've got to agree with you, mate. When this was announced, I was just like, oh yes, this is immediately pre-order this. I mean, I do have a tiny slight misgiving. I do feel like, but you are recasting Hartnell, and that part of me does feel a bit sad about that. But I love Bradley so much that if anyone's going to do it, I'm happy for it to be him. So I'm very excited about this, and also the other guys. So the Susan, Barbara, and Ian. I think it's the original actors from Adventure in Time and Space, isn't it? It's the same guys. So it's the original team from An Adventure in Space and Time, isn't it? I'm pretty sure it is, which is quite nice because that sort of ties it in very nicely with that. So, I think it's a great release. Love the cover. Don't know who did the artwork, but I think it looks fantastic with Bradley on the front looking really First Doctorish there in his big cloak. So that's really cool. Yeah, it's due out in January next year. This first box set, Volume 1. So,
right, okay. I thought it was December.
No, I've just got the Big Finish up. I think they might have changed it also. Right. But yeah, it says January now. January 2018.
Yes.
Pre-order price is £23 at the minute, which is not too bad, really. Yeah, because that will go up once it gets released. So, yeah, that's a must-have for me, mate. That is getting pre-ordered.
Yeah, and I like it that they've gone in with a slightly smaller volume to start off with as well, to sort of dip their toe in. So, Volume 1's only 2 parts.
Yeah.
And Volume 2 is out a few months later. So I'm not sure if that date has changed again, but I thought that second one was July-ish.
Oh, okay.
For Volume 2. But that's quite cool where you can, you can just sort of dip your toe in. Yeah. So David Bradley coming to Big Finish.
Yes. And finally, in the news section, we've actually got a synopsis now from BBC Worldwide for our Christmas special, which is starring, obviously, Dave Bradley and Peter Capaldi and Mark Gatiss, or Gattis, whichever you prefer. And the synopsis is thus. 2 doctors stranded in a forbidden snowscape, refusing to face regeneration. And the British Army captain seemingly destined to die in the First World War, but taken from the trenches to play his part in the Doctor's story. This is a magical last chapter in the 12th Doctor's epic adventure. He must face his past to decide his future. And the Doctor will realise the resilience of humanity, discovering hope in his darkest frozen moment. It's the end of an era, but the Doctor's journey is only just beginning. Quite a nice little synopsis, that. Actually quite liking the sound of this. So a frozen moment in time, the Doctor looking at his past regeneration and helping him through it. And I don't know, this has got the potential to be brilliant.
It has, absolutely.
I don't want to put the mockers on it because we all know Stephen's track record of Christmas specials. The only thing that does worry me, mate, is that they are throwing everything into this. I mean, it's got everything, including the kitchen sink, really, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's got Bradley, Capaldi, introduction of a new Doctor, Mark Gatiss doing his typical British thing. You know, there's a lot going on. I really hope it all comes together to make a great send-off, because the bit I like in that synopsis is the bit about it being magical last chapter in the 12th Doctor's epic adventure. I like the sound of that. So I really hope it is. I hope it's a great send-off for Capaldi. But what do you think of the synopsis? It doesn't give too much away, but it sets quite a nice picture, don't you think?
It does. I really like it. I like the bit for me that sounds awesome is that he must face his past to decide his future. Yeah. And he discovers hope in his darkest frozen moment. So it does sound really cool. And a part of me is wondering how Christmassy it's going to be. I'm just wondering if it's going to be a typical Christmassy themed story, or if they're just going to forego that and just have a really cool Doctor Who story that just happens to be out on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Although maybe they'll just get away with, it's in a snowy landscape, so that's Christmassy enough. You know. But yeah, I get what you mean though. The Moff doesn't have the best track record, does he, with Christmas specials? But this does sound very, very good.
It does. The only thing that is worrying me is something David Bradley said in an interview recently, where he was talking about the dialogue of the First Doctor in this one, saying about it was sort of showing him to be his old-fashioned values of telling the companion to get to the kitchen and stuff. And I was thinking, I really hope that Moffat isn't writing the First Doctor as this chauvinistic idiot, because yes, his values might have been different back then, but you know, I just hope he's not going to make the First Doctor a bit too chauvinistic. You know what I mean? I can sort of I can just see the Doctor looking at his past self, thinking that's all wrong. I've got to regenerate into a woman because my views were totally wrong back then. And I don't know. I don't want that nailed home, because that wasn't the First Doctor. He didn't. No. You know, he might have had moments like that because of the era it was made, but I don't want too much of that. But that's the only thing that slight concerns I have. Otherwise, I think it's sounding great, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Could be, like you say, it has a potential to be an absolute classic, this one.
Yes, hope so. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Right, that's news. News is done. Let's bring our...
Who's that tapping his plunger at the window?
You bumped into him the other day, didn't you?
I did, and didn't he look miserable?
How the heck did he get out? That's what I want to know.
Well, he's out and about. He's still popping into the BBC to see if they've got any work for him.
Little bugger.
At the weekend. Yeah, but yeah, didn't he look miserable? Didn't even bother to switch his eye on for me.
Yeah, miserable sod.
For anyone that doesn't know what we're talking about, I went to BBC, what's it called? Broadcasting House. And if you ever go in there, they've got a TARDIS with its light missing and a poor old gold Dalek that's been shoved in the corner of the room. But it's worth going just to see him, because you can get a nice pic. But that's what we're on about. So we're now saying that's Dalek Tat, aren't we?
Dalek
just
tats.
Lingering around the BBC looking for work.
Yeah. When he's not here, looking even more miserable. It's because I keep him outside. He's not house trained yet.
Get him in. Come on, get him in.
Merch corner. Merch corner. Merch corner.
I don't know whether to be impressed or disgusted.
It's a bit rubbish, but it's pretty. It's very pretty.
Douglas Adams.
Legend.
The legend. The hitchhiker himself. There's a new book on its way. The Lost Adventure that Mr. Adams penned many, many years ago. Doctor Who and the Cricket Men. Cricket spelt Krikkit. Cricket Men. So just read you a bit of blurb about this. The Doctor promised Romana at the end of the universe. So she's less than impressed when she gets there, and it's a cricket match. But then the award ceremony is interrupted by 11 figures in white uniforms and peaked skull helmets wielding bat-shaped weapons that fire lethal bolts of light into the screaming crowds. The Cricket Men are back. So obviously a British cricket sporty theme to the story. However, anyone that's read any of Douglas Adams' stories will know that it will be anything but your run-of-the-mill story. So the things with the thing with Douglas Adams stories is they often turn out to be anything but the synopsis. The synopsis is normally just a pinprick into what the the tip of the iceberg of what the story actually ends up being. So just a little bit more about this. So millions of years ago, the people of Cricket learned that they were not alone in the universe and promptly launched a xenophobic crusade to wipe out all other life forms. After a long and bloody conflict, the Time Lords imprisoned Cricket within an envelope of slow time, a prison that could only be opened with the Wicked Gate key, a device that resembles, to human eyes, an oversized set of cricket stumps. There we go. So, as you know, I know a lot of people are thinking this
sounds bonkers.
It does sound bonkers. However, like I said, that's just Douglas Adams' thing. When you read the synopsis, you think, what the blimmin' hell could that all be about? But then when you read the story, it ends up being just completely brilliant. And you realise that his genius writing, it all makes sense, once you get to the end. But so this is out. When is it out? So you can order it from Amazon and Forbidden Planet, I assume, January next year. Yeah.
It's written. I guess it's finished off by that funny little man James Goss, isn't it? He did a great job on
the Pirate Planet.
Pirate Planet. Yeah, I was trying to think. He did too, didn't he? Pirate Planet. Yeah. So he's pretty good. I feel like as a fan of Doctor Who, I feel like I should know more about this. I don't know about you, mate. I've kind of vaguely heard about it. I don't really know much about it. It was was it a script that he submitted for like back in the day or something, and that it didn't get made? Is it like a lost story? I don't know. I feel I need to know more about this.
Yes, it was essentially Douglas Adams had put together this script and story treatment and everything, and it never came to fruition for whatever reason.
Yeah,
and then he pinched some of it and used a bit in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and some other bits. But yeah, it just never went anywhere. So now, like you say, James Goss has kind of picked this up and made a novel, the novelization of his original notes and script and story and everything. So yes, it sounds very it obviously sounds very Douglas Adams, but it sounds very cool in a quirky sort of way.
Quirky, doesn't it? It sounds quirky, yeah. It's got the cover's quite interesting. It fits very nicely in with the other ones that we've got, like Sharda and Pirate Planet and that, doesn't it? So yes.
Yeah. So there we go. It's coming in January next year.
Right. Okay. Other bit of merch. I kind of need this, although I'm not sure about it. I do need a new notepad, and there's a premium Doctor Who notepad coming out, which basically is just a notepad with the TARDIS design on the front. I'm trying to work out what's premium about it. Is it fuzzy? The cover looks like it might be like fuzzy felt. I don't know.
Let me tell you why it's premium.
Go on then. Go on. Why is it premium?
It's premium because it has one of those little clasps that goes round the front and locks it in place. There you go.
Of course. How could I not notice that? And it's got the DW symbol on that little locking clasp as well. Yes. So a premium notebook is available to order from Forbidden Planet. To be fair, it does look quite nice. It's only $9.99. It's coming out 21st of September, so it'll probably already be out by the time you listen to this. It's quite a nice little notebook. And joking aside, I do need a new notebook because I've got 2 pages left in the one I use for this podcast. So 2 more stories time, I'll be needing a new notebook. So yeah, it's not bad. Very simple design, isn't it?
It's very simple. Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe because they've done so I've still got 2 notebooks unopened that I need to get. Yeah, I got the original, the A5, the ring binded notebooks that had the TARDIS design on.
Oh, yes.
Been out for a couple of years now. So it's interesting that they've gone the other way. So those ones have got a very realistic photo almost of the front of the TARDIS on it. Whereas this new one, it's the TARDIS details are in black on the TARDIS blue. So normally when they do these things, they put everything in white so it stands out, or they do like a photorealistic version. Whereas this one's quite muted, and it does. I can't comment on the premiumness of this. I'm not going to say go out and buy it because it will fulfill all of your notebook needs. in a premium way. But yeah, it's got the little Velcro, I assume, or little push button thing that locks it.
Yeah,
and stuff. But yeah, there we go. It's a tenner. I think they normally retail for what, £8, so another couple of quid more. So
I might get one. I genuinely might get one for making notes for the podcast, and I'll let you know if it looks better in hand, because it might be one of those. I mean, I'm looking at it thinking, well, it don't look anything special, but maybe when the actual thing, I'll let you know. I wish they'd sort their branding out though.
I know.
Doctor. I mean, it's back to that yellow and blue branding design that we saw back in the Capaldi's first era. It's horrible.
I never liked it to begin with.
No, why can't this?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, they need to sort their branding out. As something Chibbers will sort out, I'm sure.
Oh, Chibs.
Because it's all over the place. There's no consistency in Doctor Who branding at all, is there?
No, not really.
At the minute, no.
Brand guidelines are being ignored, left, right, and centre.
They are, yes.
There we go. Notebook. Last up for merch, we spoke about calendars on the last episode. The Beeb have brought out their obligatory yearly calendars, and we said they were a little bit lazy, didn't we, with their choice of design and a bit run of the mill and a little bit sort of expected, nothing special. If you're looking for something a little bit different, then there's a new A4 calendar that's going to hit very soon, featuring all the artwork by Gordon Archer. If you don't know who Gordon Archer is, he was one of the guys that did a lot of the original Target book covers and all that stuff. And he's also, a lot of his work features on some of the old vinyl covers, doesn't he? Like some of the old, I think you picked them up at a record shop day, didn't you?
I'm wondering if he did the Pescatons or something like that. It looks like that style, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. So basically Gordon Archer is a very, very sort of popular retro sort of Doctor Who artist from back in the day, and you can pick up a signed version of that. Where does this come from? Because the website, Yellow Planet, yellowplanet.co.uk/offers will take you to the page, and you can get it for £12 plus shipping.
It's not bad for something that's signed either.
That's very cool, because considering the ones from the BBC are £10, this is not too bad. Just an extra couple of quid. You're getting a really, it's definitely, it doesn't have like the modern contemporary design that you see on the BBC ones, where it's all very sci-fi looking and all that stuff. It's very sort of, it's a lot more, it's plainer in its design, but I think that's by design, because the actual calendar part of it is very simple and plain. But the focus is obviously the artwork. So on every page, you get to see Gordon's artwork as the main feature. So the actual calendar part of it doesn't detract from that. So, I really like this. I'm more tempted at this one than I am at the BBC ones, if I'm honest.
Oh yeah, me too, mate. And I've just clicked on the link to the website to get a better look at the other pictures on it. It's quite nice actually. It's unusual, isn't it? It's something different. I do vaguely remember seeing some of these pictures, but I can't think what from. Well, I don't know if they were like part of those little collector cards you used to get back in the 70s and 80s. I don't know. They look very familiar, but I like it. They're almost like I was going to say watercolor. It's not watercolor pictures, but it's a different style. And it's just something a bit different. I'm quite tempted with this one as well. I'm sort of stuck between this one and the Andrew Scaletta calendar. Never know if I'm saying his name right. Skill to Andrew. His calendars just come out as well, which is really nice. So yeah, both of these look good actually. But this is something a bit different. Yeah, I might go with this.
Yeah,
I really quite like it. Yeah,
and I think it's a real bargain as well. I mean, I said it was £12 plus shipping. That's incorrect. It's actually £12 including shipping.
Oh yeah, which is great, isn't it?
Absolutely. So I think for a signed calendar from Gordon Archer himself, featuring some beautiful artwork from back in his era, I think this is a real steal. So and it's worldwide shipping as well. If you're not limited to the UK, they do ship to Canada, Australia, everything. So a bit more for shipping, obviously, if you live there, but still very good.
Yes.
And that's merch.
That's it. Wheel him out. Push him out.
Yeah, go on. Bugger off.
Hey, off he goes.
I'm assuming that his one slimy Dalek eye inside there is rolling Up and down, like, here we go, I'm being booted out again.
That's it. Till next week.
Right. Adam.
Yes.
How many Nimons have you seen today?
You human scum. Praise the Nimon.
You must not blaspheme the Nimon.
Well, I wonder if anyone can guess what we're doing this week. It is, of course, the Fourth Doctor adventure, The Horns of Nimon.
You meddlesome hussy. Do not touch the sacrifices!
It's all over, Soldeed. You're finished.
No, the Nimon will fulfill his great promise. The Nimon be praised!
The Nimon be praised. How many Nimons have you seen today?
Don't dare blaspheme the Nimon.
How many?
Skonoth will...
How many Nimons?
3. I have seen 3.
Well, I've just seen a whole lot more rampaging down the corridor. Face it, Soldeed, you're being invaded.
He said he was the only one, the last survivor of his race.
He told you what you wanted to hear, promised you what you wanted to have.
So, this is a great journey of life!
They're parasitic nomads who've been feeding off your selfishness and gullibility.
My dreams of conquest! Well, come on, old girl. There's quite a few millennia left in you yet.
Thank you, Doctor.
Not you, the TARDIS.
Deary me. Graham Crowden. Crikey Moses.
Goodness me. Yeah.
I was very tempted to put in the remix version of that. If any, a few of our friends on Twitter were having a good old crack up yesterday when you put a photo of the DVD to say you were watching it for this week.
Yeah.
Sonic Clavier on Twitter, Johnny Kilroy said, how many Nimons have you seen today? Basically, if you go on YouTube and just do a search for how many Nimons have you seen today, you'll see a remix version of it.
It's well worth watching. It's so funny.
Yes. And and it's just hilarious because it's addictive as well. You watch it once and then you crack up and then you watch it. It's just the never ending cycle.
It's brilliant. It gets stuck in your head though. Be warned. It'll be in your head all day.
Yes, be warned. Yeah. Yes. But anyway, the Horns of Nimon. The Doctor and Romana, along with K9 Mark II, find themselves in a sort of buggered up TARDIS. Really, everything's gone to shot to bits, and they bump into a spaceship that's on its way to the planet. Help me out here.
I can't remember.
Because it was so yeah, it was on its way to a planet with is it Skonos?
There's
yes.
Yeah,
so the place where this ship is heading to with the human sacrifices.
Human scum.
It's on its way from Skonos to somewhere Aneth, that's it. The near Aneth, yeah. Where these sacrifices these young humans to this kind of almost godlike creature that they think initially called the Nimon. And these, so the Skonon Empire basically worship this, what they think is a singular kind of godlike creature. But he sort of insists that once a year, I think, these young people are sacrificed so that he can build up a power supply, open up a black hole, get the other Nimons in, drain the planet of everything, and then move on to the next planet. So this gullible leader guy, Soldeed, sort of is going along with it. And so the Doctor and Romana and sort of get wrapped up in it and try and open their eyes, not having any of it. And, as what happens with some of these classic episodes, it all ends with a nice big explosion.
Yeah.
Trapping the Nimon on their final planet. They can't go any further. And that's it.
Yeah, all wraps up.
All wraps up nicely in a big explosion. Actually, no, the planet was Krinoth, wasn't it?
Krinoth, that sounds right. Yeah.
Yes. So Aneth is the neighbouring planet where they pick up these young sacrificial people and take them to Krinoth, where the Skonon Empire is hoping to get. Oh yeah, so the Nimon has basically said, if you give me these sacrifices and all this jazz, I will, reinstate the Sconan Empire back to its greatness and all that stuff. So that's why Skuldheed is so desperate to please the Nimon. There we go. What did you think to this fourth part? I remember when I put this on the schedule, you were like, "Wow, crikey, this is going to be fun."
Do you know what? I was dreading watching this. I really was. It's like when we realised we couldn't record last week, I was like, "Oh, good, I can put off watching it for another week." So I watched 2 episodes on Sunday, and then another 2 last night. It's not great, but do you know what? To my amazement, I really enjoyed watching this. When I was at work on Monday, I couldn't actually wait to get home to watch the next 2 episodes. I was really quite surprised how much I enjoyed it. But it's got so many faults with it. I mean, it's not great. It's not great by any means. But yeah, I actually just as a sort of piece of entertainment, I was amazed how much I enjoyed watching this. I actually thought it was really fun. There's a couple of bits of, in it that really stand out for me as being what I would call a shame. I think it could have been a lot better, but yeah, it was nowhere near as bad as I thought. In fact, I'm slightly wondering if I'm getting it when you put it on the schedule. Slightly wondering if I'm getting it mixed up with another story in this series, in series 17. I don't want to say which one because we haven't reviewed it yet. But I think I might have been thinking of another, sort of in my head thinking, oh, there's one that I find really hard going. Because I didn't. Yes. I actually found this, although it was silly and quite ridiculous, and the sets are blimmin' awful, and the performances are over the top, and the extras are blimmin' useless, and the comedies doesn't hit the mark. Although all this stuff was going on, I just found myself just really enjoying watching it. It was quite strange. So, to my amazement, I kind of liked it, but I'm looking forward to getting into it more and discussing stuff. But yeah, it was not bad, I thought. What did you think?
Yeah, I think I know what episode, or sorry, what story you mean from series 17 as well. It's one of the 2 in the middle. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I don't know that I was necessarily mixing it up with one of those, but I think in my head when you said Horns and Iron, I remember thinking, "Oh, I haven't watched that for a long time, and there's a reason I haven't watched it. It's because it's awful." And it really wasn't awful. It's actually quite entertaining in its own little way. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's one of those classic stories again where we seem to have had a few of these over the last few months where I find it absolutely hilarious pretty much from start to finish, but it's not trying to be funny. If you know what I mean. It's completely hilarious. The one thing that I will say with this one is it's definitely, for me anyway, one of those stories where I was completely bored for the most part throughout the story. However, it's some of the performances that keep you, I wouldn't say keep you coming back because it's not one that I watch that regularly, I think, but it's definitely one of those stories where the performances, you want to see what happens to a couple of the people, plus the Doctor and Romana are pretty good in this one. Although the story is not great for them, the script isn't brilliant, I think they're having a bit of fun with it. I think it's one of those stories where the Doctor's, he's having a bit of a laugh and a crack at most points that we see him, because it's interesting because I think Romana actually does more in the story than the Doctor actually in this one. And I think Tom Baker's just quite happy with that, it seems, because he's having a bit of a muck around for most of the scenes that he's in.
Yeah.
He has his serious moments, but he's having a bit of a laid back, bit of a laugh with it. And but Romana's, she sort of takes the lead almost. Not quite, but almost. And then some of the other people like Soldeed, and the pilots at the beginning, it just and some of the people from Anath as well, they're just hilarious to watch, but unintentionally hilarious, especially Soldeed, and we will come on to him in a little bit. But
dear, yeah.
So overall, I didn't mind it too much, but I do find myself, especially story and plot wise, it does, even just for 4 parts, I just find it very slow going throughout most of it. Yeah.
Fair enough. I mean, it's not one I've reached for in a long time. I mean, that's what I love about this podcast, is it makes me rewatch stories that that I haven't watched for a long time, that I perhaps think I don't like, or for whatever reason they've just sat on the shelf gathering dust. And that's definitely where I'd categorize this story. I have not reached for this story for a long time, and it's I find that a lot with the Graham Williams era. I don't really like, or at least I don't think I like, might be changing my mind as we go through them, but I don't really reach for much of his era. I always go for the Hinchcliffe era, because those are stories I just know I like, and they were darker in tone. The Graham Williams stuff's very much light-hearted compared to that. Like the Key to Time stuff I really, really struggle with. But also because Tom's quite comedic in the Graham Williams era, and obviously we've got Douglas Adams as script editor, so that again adds in a lot of humour. So yeah, it's not always my favourite sort of series to go to. And you can see that they've let the reins off on Tom, can't you?
Yes.
You can see that there's a lot of ad-libbing going on from Tom in this, which I think Philip was strong enough to rein him in and say to him, no, we're not doing that, Tom. That's silly. Whereas Graham Williams obviously didn't do that. He kind of let Tom get away with a lot more. Some of it for the better, but not all of it. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It wasn't that there's a lot of it in this. I mean, the sort of scenes of him giving canine mouth to mouth at the beginning, which is just simply ridiculous, is a Tom Baker ad lib, and you just sort of think, well, that's, it stands out a mile, doesn't it? That he's just doing that. He's probably worked it out in rehearsal and stuff. But I still quite liked Baker in this. I still thought he was still very much on form, but you can tell that that he's getting his way a lot more by this point in his doctor's time, if you like.
Absolutely. I forgot to do the rundown of the info on the story. So
right.
It was first out in 22nd of December 1979 and transferred through to 1980 in January. So this is the very first story that trickled over into the 80s from the 90s. It was written by Anthony Reed, directed by Kenny McBain. Yes, and that, as you said, overseen by Douglas Adams and produced at the time by Graham Williams. So, well, I totally agree, mate. It's the Graham Williams stuff absolutely has a more light-hearted feel to it, and a bit more. I'm not saying it doesn't have its serious stuff going on, but at face value, anyway, it definitely seems a lot more light-hearted and a bit more playful.
It doesn't always hit the mark, does it? It always feels a little bit more hollow, if you know what I mean. The substance isn't always there, I find, in this era, because the next story would have been Sharda.
That's right.
But of course that never got completed properly. Obviously they did eventually release it as a DVD with Tom Baker narrating it, but never got shown at the time or finished. So then so after this story, we get The Leisure Hive, would have been the next one. So when did that start then? Because we're into different territory once the next story arrives, haven't we? The Leisure Hive arrives. We've got a new theme. So this is the last time that we see the tunnel effect. It's the last time that we hear that beautiful version of the theme. I still think it's probably the best version of the theme, because then by the time Leisure Hive hits our screens in August, so a few months on from this, we're a different tone, I think, completely. Like Leisure Hive feels totally different to the Horns of Nimon to me, and obviously that's because we get a new producer. J&T steps in and takes over from Graham Williams and just gives it a fresh feel, a totally different feel. So it's a bit of a strange with this, isn't it? Because it does feel very. It seems to me like Doctor Who needed freshening up. I'm watching it and I'm thinking, it does feel like a bit of an end of an era to me. Like the theme's kicking in. They've had those credits for so long now.
Yeah.
They've had that theme for so long. The sets look dreadful. They look like they've just found any old bit of computer, any old bit of electronic stuff that they could find and shoved it on the wall. And they're very basic, aren't they? So it does feel like the show was sort of coming to a bit of an end of an era in terms of the production values on this one, before they you get a new producer on board and start again with new themes and stuff. So it felt a bit tired, I suppose, if you like. I was watching it and I was thinking, it feels a little bit tired to me. Like the costumes, the Nimons themselves, to me, I kind of like the design, but they also look terrible, don't they?
The Nimons.
And I don't know, and I don't know if it's because of the way they're walking, or just the overall design of the actual suit that the actors are in. How on earth are they seeing through those masks as well? Are they looking through the mouth or what? I was trying to think, because I bet you they couldn't see a blimmin' thing out of that headgear.
No.
When they're getting out of the spaceship, you've got to give them credit for that. That must have been really difficult for them to get in and out of that thing wearing that headgear.
Yeah, for me, the design, it's just hilarious. And you can tell, like you say, mate, that I think Doctor Who was starting to just feel tired at this point.
It looks tired.
Yeah, because and I'm not sure if it's one of those things that we always hear and heard about the BBC at the time, where the BBC is a strange beast, because it continuously complains, and has done for many, many years, even back here in the 70s and 80s, always complains that it never has any money. It never has. It's always cutting things and always stripping things back. So the feeling that I get from this, or for the most part, really, of Series 17, is that they really, really had next to nothing to go on and to work with, because with the exception of a couple of little visual effects, like we see, the spaceship out in space.
Yeah.
That in itself doesn't look too bad, but the effects with the TARDIS look just absolutely dreadful when we see that out in space. And so that's not great. And then some of the sets just look like, I'm not sure if it's intentional, they're supposed to look that bad, like roughed up and lived in and used and all that stuff. Because at this point, remember, Star Wars had just come out a few years earlier. Episode 4 had come out, and that really sort of pioneered the way for sci-fi that looks lived in and scruffy and all that. So I'm not sure if that's intentional, to copy that, but it just looks. Yeah, everything looks. It looks like they just had to go off to a supermarket and just pick up, cereal boxes and plastic tubs and washing up bottles and everything. And I know that Doctor Who has a certain charm about the old days and how cheap the sets were and wobbly and all that, but these just look like there's no love been put into it, really.
That's exactly what I was going to get to. Yeah, because we sometimes talk about stories where the production values are not great, but you can tell that they've really, the love's gone into the show because they've made the most of what they can with the very limited budget. With this, it doesn't really feel like there's much love or care gone into making it. It just seems like they would, you know what I mean? You can't see. I'm trying to think of an example, but so for like Survival, there, the very last McCoy story, right? Absolutely no budget at all, but you can tell that they've tried. Or say Greatest Show in the Galaxy, they've really tried to make it the best they can on a shoestring budget. With this, I kind of get the feeling they're just getting the show made. You can't feel any love towards anything to do with the production side of this. The cast are still doing their job in terms of Tom and Lala are still very much at the forefront, pushing the show forward and still doing a great job. The supporting cast, are pretty weak. There's one person that stands out for me, which is the co-pilot guy. I thought he was giving a good performance and, trying to take it seriously. But everyone else just feels that, it's just getting the job done. But you look at the sets. I mean, look at the TARDIS set, for example. They've actually nailed. Did you notice they've actually nailed the walls back to front? So if you look at the TARDIS walls with the roundels, they've actually connected the bit in the middle. They've connected it the wrong way, so it's inside out.
Oh yes, yeah.
And it looks filthy.
It does.
Around it looks awful because they've put it up and they probably thought, oh, blimey, we've it should be the other way around, but oh well. There's just not very little love gone into the production of this, it seems.
I got the same feeling as well after I watched it, and especially the TARDIS interior set.
It looks awful.
I mean, for a start, it looks tiny for some reason. It's really small, like the space around the center console and where the coat stand is and the doors and stuff like that. It looks like they've just been shoved into a tiny little garage somewhere.
Yeah, into a corner of the studio.
Yeah. And
the paintwork around the console, especially around the floor, you can tell that as production's gone on from the past few series, and they've made 30 odd episodes now, you can tell that as people have just scuffed past it and bumped into it, and it's all chipped and dented, and there's scuff marks all over it. And
yeah,
I know what you mean. I got that feeling immediately when that first scene, the opening scene in the TARDIS. I thought, what's going on here? Has somebody not even have they not even bothered? Even when filming's finished recently, has somebody just not looked at it and thought, at least put a lick of paint around it?
Yeah,
just to make it look like it. You haven't just picked this thing up at a jumble sale. Yeah. So
it's funny. And once you notice the dividing line, so look at at the two flats where they've been put together in the middle. Once you notice that big line down the middle, it's quite obvious that it's inside out.
Uh-huh.
You shouldn't be able to see that bit there. It's just it's the only saving grace for it is the fact that the Doctor is supposed to be sort of repairing or something, isn't he? Like at the start, he's got the lid off the time rotor and he's connected. So the only saving grace is it is supposed to look a mess.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's kind of beyond that.
But you can't really fool. I mean, even at the time when this went out, I'm pretty sure there would have been Who fans that said the roundels are not lined up correctly. And, that doesn't look right. So, it's a bit of a poor show, really, because yes, on one hand, the TARDIS is meant to be in disrepair and it's meant to be knackered at this time, and and not in the best of states. However, Graham Williams and whoever else was working on it, it's a bit of not an insult, but it's a little bit of a you can't fool Who fans. That's one thing that's been proven. Even long before this ever came out, you cannot hide stuff like that from Who fans. They will pick up on the tiniest little detail. So I know what you mean. It's it's not enough love into it.
It's kind of a that'll do attitude. Oh, that'll do. Yeah. Whereas like you said, something else, you can really spot that they've tried, even if they haven't succeeded. You can say, well, look, they've you can tell what they were trying to do there.
Yeah.
So
what did you reckon to kind of overall story and moving through the 4 episodes and stuff like that? Because I did find it a real slog to actually stay focused on the story, because for one, the direction, with the exception of one scene, the direction was very, as typical, unfortunately, with this era, was very run of the mill. And
I thought it was really flat. I thought the direction was dreadful. Not dreadful, sorry. Just like you said, run of the mill. Nothing exciting at all.
And there was one scene actually where, because it was mainly set, it was all set filmed. They fell into this trap of having just cameras at fixed points on the set, and then it's focused on one person as they're doing their dialogue, and then it flicks to the other one, and there isn't much movement. It's very static. But there was one scene where they actually got a camera off of something, or they've got a Steadicam or something, and it's following. There's a bit where Soldeed is chasing somebody down a corridor with his staff thing, and the camera's right in front of him, so somebody's running backwards in front of him as he's running forwards. And I was like, oh, this is cool. This is a good build up to something. But then that was the only scene it happens in. And then it all goes back to just normal static cameras after that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, one of the notes I made was how poor the direction was, because the Nimons, I know obviously the design doesn't help, but they're not in the least bit scary, are they? I mean, there's no attempt to sort of film them from any angle that makes them even remotely good or scary. I think the shot you're on about, I think I know the one you mean. I think there might be one shot, isn't there, of a Nimon sort of like a handheld coming towards the camera or something.
That's it.
So I thought, okay, that's the only attempt they've made to sort of do anything with the Nimon. Otherwise, it's just shot walking into the room. You can see it's a guy in a suit with a great big bulky head on. The lights have turned up to full. It's there's no attempt made at all to make the Nimons even look remotely good. They don't stand a chance. And they're just shot walking straight into the room.
And the direction with the Nimons when they're actually in frame is bizarre as well, because all they've been told is just walk around and don't do anything. So there's a scene where the young sacrifice people are in the room with the Nimon, and the camera's quite far back, and you can see most of the set, and you can see the people in the yellow karate outfits over to the right hand side.
Oh, those extras.
Yeah. Oh. And the Nimon's just sort of pacing very leisurely around, and then he says something, and then he turns around again, and then he goes up to this control panel. There's like a tower full of like electronics and stuff, and he's not actually pressing buttons or levers or anything. He kind of like strokes it, and it's almost like he's been told to sort of act as a mime artist, and
he probably couldn't see. He probably couldn't even see what he was. Where is it? He's probably just thinking, "Oh, this will look like I'm doing it." Yeah, I do know what you mean, though. But it's a bit like the guy I said I quite liked, the co-pilot guy, who I thought was giving quite a good performance. To be fair, he seemed to be taking it serious, and he's giving a bit of gusto, wasn't he? That co-pilot. I mean, all the others are like, "Oh no, the Nimons are coming," and all that. But he was like, "Oh no, the Nimon." He's going for it, but not over the top like Soul Deed. But in that scene where he gets killed and sadly falls over and rips his trousers, I don't know if you noticed that. But unfortunately, he falls over and he does a Tom Jones, doesn't he? Great big split around the back of the trousers. But even in that scene, it's just shot that he looks like. I kept thinking, why you just stood there? You just stood there letting the Nimon kill you. Why are you doing that? But if it had been shot differently, like the Nimon, like a close up and then him looking up, it could have been done really well. And we've seen stuff like that in, like, Troughton's era, Pertwee's era. There's no excuse. We're quite a few years on from that now. There's no excuse for this standard, one shot direction. It's just, it could have been so good. I mean, the only excuse you might have is time. Maybe the production was rushed or whatever. But yeah, there were scenes like that there where I was just thinking, God, dear, it is a bit flat.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a reason why Kenny McBain didn't really work much in TV after. Well, as a director anyway, I think when I looked up some info about him earlier, he was the main producer on Inspector Morse, but didn't.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah,
okay.
But he didn't direct. He was just the producer. I think he's done the odd episode of Corrie.
Oh.
So you can tell that after this, he certainly wasn't going to win any awards for directing, which is a shame, because with these this type of monster, where the actor they got to play, or the actors, were quite tall, and they were quite, especially with the huge head mask on and stuff, they could have had some, they employed just some real simple filmmaking techniques. Like, way back in the day when the first Dalek story with Hartnell, when, the original box, the Dalek story.
Yeah.
They employed this trick where when the Doctor and Ian and Barbara were on set, the cameras were up at a sort of decent level and they were head on, but when they had the shots of the Daleks moving around, they put the cameras really low down and shot them upwards so that they looked like, really big and or
towering
larger.
Over you.
Yeah, and menacing and stuff. They could have employed those sorts of things, just simple things, to make the Nimons look a bit more threatening and menacing, but the camera's just fixed and static the whole time. So it, inevitably just looks like a guy in a mask pacing around, fumbling his way around the set. Unfortunately,
which is a drab set anyway. I mean, I was going to say the only thing I would, I suppose, excuse, if you like, in terms of the production value, is that it is possible they were saving money for the next story, because I think Sharda was quite adventurous, wasn't it? So a lot of it was on location in Cambridge. So it's possible this was like the low budget ep that they had planned for, and then obviously, because Sharda would have been like the series final, wouldn't it?
That's right.
If you like, back in the day, it was the equivalent of. So that might have been one of the reasons that the sets and everything look so poor. I'm not making not that I'm making excuses for it, but just sort of thinking of it logically in terms of how they would have planned things back then and budgeted. That might have affected why, this looks so drab, if you like, because they probably would have been already in production of Sharda or planning it or whatever. So. Yeah, that might not have helped.
Yeah, I read you. So, yeah, you're probably right. So, Sharda being like the series finale,
Yeah, it was an adventurous script, wasn't it? With loads.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, because it was Douglas Adams again, wasn't it, who had put that together, most of it, and a lot of outside shoots and lots of stuff. So that would have required a lot more budget, certainly more than this. So
yeah,
I read you. Yeah, so editing again, fairly standard, nothing crazy there. The direction, the editing, it really just made it a bit of a plod along for me. It was a bit more.
Maybe because I haven't watched it for so long, because you may have watched it more recent than me.
No,
maybe
it was a couple of years ago I last watched it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I guess say maybe because, I mean, it is so long since I watched it. I didn't find it a chore. I mean, I wasn't sat there on the edge of my seat. Let's put it that way. I wasn't like gripped. But there was, I don't know, there was enough going on in it. And I think it does come back to the performances, like Tom and Lala and stuff. I was particularly enjoying Lala in this.
Yes, me
as
too.
Romana. I think because of that, I was quite looking forward to getting back and watching the second 2 episodes this week. I was thinking, I'm actually quite into this, But I think it was more, it's more to do with not really the story itself, but it was more to do with, just enjoying the Baker era and seeing Tom and Lala. And, I was just thinking, I'm actually quite enjoying all this silliness. So I didn't find it a plod, but I can see why you would. And I have a feeling if I watched it again, say in a couple of weeks' time, I would be sat there thinking, this is dragging. But because I couldn't remember much about it, I was kind of invested in it enough to keep watching it.
Yeah.
But I get why you were bored.
Yeah, for me it's don't get me wrong, I didn't think like, oh my god, this is that bad, I think I need to turn it off. It got to that stage. It was, it's watchable for sure, but it just feels like there are a few decent scenes within each episode, but the rest of it is just conversation after conversation after conversation. And even the scenes where the Nimons, you think he's going to cut loose, or you think it is going to cut loose and, I mean, we see one scene, don't we, where it kills one of the young sacrificial people.
Yeah.
And then we have another scene where, the famous splitting trousers scene where he kills the co-pilot. So there's a couple of scenes, but it doesn't really kick off in any way. It doesn't go mental and start.
No, it never builds. It builds, but nothing happens.
Exactly. Yeah. It sort of builds and builds up, and you think, these guys are going to, especially when we see all the other Nimons, and you think, right, they're going to go on a bit of a killing frenzy because their master plan is under threat at the minute, so they need to protect that. But they still just sort of, fumble around and plod around and don't really do much. So I wasn't, absolutely, not on the edge of my seat at all for any of it. But at the same time, I wasn't really thinking, oh, crikey, I need to turn this off and go and do something else. But it's just a bit of a laboured watch for me because there we go.
I get that. There's a strange bit at the end where Seth gets shot by a Nimon and then he's instantly back alive. I actually rewound it because I thought, did I miss something there? I don't know if you spotted that. So it's right at the end of the episode when it sort of starts to kick off before it just stops again. There's a scene where it's like just after Soldeed's been shot or something, and then this Nimon walks in and you see Seth get shot. And then it sort of cuts back to the Nimon, and then it cuts back and he suddenly just stood up next to the Doctor again. And I was thinking, what happened there then? That's really odd. It was like the quickest I've been shot and stunned I've ever seen. I don't know. You probably won't watch this for a while, but next time you watch it, it's right at the very end of the episode. I just thought it was a very strange. It's as if they thought they'd kill Seth off and then said, oh, no, don't kill him off. He's fine.
Oh, right. I think
it's very
I remember.
Strange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is where Romana's just...
It's literally the very end of the episode. Yeah, so the Doctor and they're all in that room, and
that's right. Yeah.
I think they've sorted Soldeed out, but he's still alive, and I don't know. And then a Nimon walks in, and he just shoots, or even it might even be Soldeed shoots him. I can't remember now. But that was a bit of an odd edit, and I just didn't quite get what happened there. There was a couple of moments like that, to be fair, where I wasn't quite sure what just happened, but wasn't really that bothered enough to find out. If you know what I mean, I just kind of went with it, but. Again, it comes back to sort of the direction. I was thinking, what's meant to be happening here? There was a bit where the crowd have all got their back to the camera, just talking.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was thinking, what's happening?
Yeah, it's episode 2, isn't it? I think
it felt like they needed another shot there, but they just thought, we haven't got time to refilm it, so we'll just go with that shot of everyone with their back to the camera. That'll be fine.
Yeah.
So there was a couple of bits like that, but luckily, Soldeed. Any chance of nodding off, he comes in just enough, doesn't he, to wake you up? I think just when you might just be nodding off. Soldeed is in the room, and all praise be the night. Oh God, I'm back in the room.
Actually, let's talk about some characters then.
I was going to say, let's talk about some characters. Yeah,
let's talk about. Let's talk about the Aneths then that are currently under capture from the pilots at the beginning, and two of them kind of stand out, don't they? They're the ones that.
Oh yeah.
That kind of.
Well, one of them was from Blue Peter, wasn't she? I immediately was like, oh, it's Janet Ellis.
Janet Ellis, yeah, she went on to do Blue Peter, didn't she?
Yeah, I thought she had a bigger part in this. She doesn't actually do much, does she?
No.
Apart from like fawn over Seth quite a lot. She thinks he's God's gift, doesn't she? She's like, oh, Seth's wonderful.
Yeah. So those two were like the main, because the other ones, they don't have any speaking parts. They just huddle around like cattle. And
well, do you know, it's funny because there's a woman with dark hair in that mob. And every time, you know, that brilliant website we go on, the Doctor Who actors appearances or whatever it's called, and it tells you where all the actors from Doctor Who are appearing. It's a great website actually. There's always this picture of this woman at the bottom in this yellow top, and I've always been like, who is that? And then finally now I know who it is, and she's only got one line.
Oh,
and she's like, I was like, oh, so that's who she is. So because she's always on this doing these appearances, I was thinking she was going to suddenly come into her own halfway through the story and wipe out a few Nimons. But no, I think she's the woman that says, just before Matey gets shot and rips his trousers, I think she says something like, oh gosh, or something like that. So anyway, so I finally know who she is. But the rest of them don't say a word, do they? They just do lots of great shocked acting and gawping, and
that's it.
They're really earning their money, those extras.
I love that. I thought she's going to come alive and wipe out a few Nimons.
Yeah, but I was thinking she's doing all these appearances. Who is this woman that I don't recognise? And it's her. Yeah. Maybe she's done lots of other stuff. You never know. She might have gone on to be really famous in something else, but I don't recognise her.
Do you know what they reminded me of? These dudes in the yellow karate suits.
What's that?
They reminded me of a bunch of Adrics. I don't know why. I think maybe just...
Yeah, it's a forerunner to the Adric outfit.
It is.
Yeah, because J&T takes over next series. Maybe he saw this and thought, I like that. Like that. I'll just alter that a little bit. Put a star on it. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I won't look at it the same way now.
But they were fairly... Yeah, again, they're not going to win any awards or anything,
No,
are
they weren't great. No. So what do you think of Seth, though? Because, I mean, he gets a bit more... He gets to be a bit of a hero in this, doesn't he?
A little bit, yeah. He teams up with Romana, doesn't he, for the famous...
Yeah.
How many Nimons have you seen today? He's there with her, isn't he? And he's playing backup. He's got Soldeed's staff of power, whatever it is.
Oh, that blimmin' staff, yeah.
Yeah, so he gets a bit more to do, for sure. But I'm still, not sold on his acting chops, really.
Yeah, you get the feeling it was his first job, don't you?
Yeah. I think he went on to do quite a lot. I think he ended up doing loads of theatre stuff rather than
probably
TV and stuff. But yeah, I mean, he was not terrible, but yeah, he's not. Yeah, not great.
Not great.
A bit of a tragedy, actually. He died really young. He died when he was 28. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm looking at an older picture of him now. He looks kind of familiar, actually, seeing him as a slightly older. Because I don't know how old he was when he was in this. He looks really young, doesn't he?
He's really young in this, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he died really young, unfortunately. But yeah, he was never going to win anything, was he, for his acting chops in this? Let's be honest. But
not in this one, I'm afraid. No. Simon, what's his name? Simon Gibbs Kent.
Gibbs Kent, yeah.
His name, yeah.
Yeah, and then we've got what about the pilots at the beginning, because they were really hamming it up, weren't they? Big time.
They were. I still think the co-pilot was good, though. Malcolm Terrace. I thought he was right, just because I love the way he keeps shouting at the... he's saying human scum, isn't he?
I don't know. I think he's saying something else.
Is it? I was like, what's he saying?
He's saying something scum. I don't think it's human. I think it's...
useless scum, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
He's shouting at the prisoners, doesn't he? And I don't know. I thought he was quite good. Like when he was sacrificed the Nimon and all that. I thought he was he looked pretty scared considering what he was actually faced with. The other guy, well, he dies pretty quick, doesn't he? He's like, don't put the engine on full or otherwise. Oh no!
Yeah,
yeah.
Dude, I found it before we go on. I found it.
Oh, go on.
He's actually shouting "weakling scum."
Weakling scum, right?
Yes, yeah.
Do you think Gattis got, or not Gattis, but I mean, it reminded me of Strax, because he shouts stuff like that, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Weakling scum and all that. So I don't know, was that a forerunner to Strax maybe?
Possibly.
But yeah. Anyway, no, I didn't think he was too bad. I'll be honest with you. I thought the co-pilot wasn't bad. I'm not sure about the other guy because he only got about 5 lines. But
Bob Hornery, the other guy. Yeah, he just got a few minutes before he gets blown up.
I'm not sure if that ship is actually shaking or if it's just the camera, but it looks to me like they've got the crew to shake the set.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was thinking because you can normally tell if it's just the camera because they do very over the top movements, but it looked to me like it still looked like they were shaking the camera, but it looked to me like they were actually shaking the set as well. And I was thinking it doesn't look like the sturdiest set either. So perhaps he was actually genuinely terrified of being crushed by something falling down from it, because it didn't. I mean, it was a cobbled together spaceship, wasn't it? I mean, it was
awful. Yeah,
it was awful. Yeah,
but the thing was, it wasn't too bad because I quite like that scene at the beginning. In that spaceship, because it does have that really cool kind of experimental, let's just try and make a spaceship and do the best we can. It does have that nice kind of non-professional. It's hard to explain, like that non-professional.
No, I do know what you mean. I do. Yeah.
It almost like, please forgive me for saying this, mate, but it almost has got like a bit of a Blake 7
feel. Yeah, I know.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly what you mean. Yeah.
So from that,
I think that's why I liked it.
Yeah. So from that aspect, I did quite like it. I did think it was quite cool. But the thing with the pilots is they're too shouty, especially the co-pilot, and it's funny that they don't have actual names either. They're just pilot and co-pilot. But he's just too shouty. Like literally everything he says, the co-pilot is like he's yelling and bellowing in people's faces. But it was quite funny though, especially his hair. I didn't realise his hair was going to look like that when we see him without his helmet on.
Yeah, that's right.
Like this kind of Shakespearean, white hair. It's quite funny, but
I like it when he's trying to lie as well, trying to say that he repaired it and did all this stuff, and then the guy's like, well, how did you know, blah blah blah, and he's like, he gets found out so quick, doesn't he? He's not very good at lying, the old co-pilot.
Okay, what about who's the old guy that Romana bumps into? Is
Sorak?
Sorak, yeah. I quite liked his character. I was hoping that he was going to be in it a wee bit more, because I thought it unlocked a little bit more of a sub story that might have detracted from the main bore.
It needed it, didn't it?
It did, and I was hoping for a wee bit more, but I thought he was the he was like an old captain of something, wasn't he? He was an old guard captain.
Well, he gets to sort of explain the sort of story, really, doesn't it? It's weird. He comes into it right in the middle or towards the end of the story, and they have that nice little chat, don't they? Him and Romana, and he sort of gets to explain what's been going on, and like, I brought the no, was he say I discovered the Nimons, and I don't know, he sort of gets to explain it all, and I thought that's quite a nice little scene.
Yeah, that was cool.
Then he gets shot in the back.
Yeah, because I think, wasn't it him that the Nimons first contacted?
That's right, yeah.
And it was basically his fault that.
Yeah.
So I thought that was quite good. He like this kind of rogue, sort of undercover character almost that was, narrating what we were thinking was happening.
Yeah.
But like you said, he gets shot fairly quick by a Nimon.
Yeah, by a blimmin' Nimon.
But his performance was quite cool though. It definitely was like the polar opposite to Graham Croden's, and
it's he's one of the more calmer performances in this particular story. Yeah, reserved. Yeah.
Okay, so Soldy then. Graham Croden.
Oh dear.
Crikey. I mean,
there are going to be people out there that love him. I know this. I was watching it thinking there are going to be people out there that will think he's just brilliant in this, like so funny, so camp, so over the top. Personally, I'm just going to come out and say it. He drove me. I thought he was awful. He irritated me. He was so. Not only does he fluff nearly every line he's got, he seems to really be on the edge of getting his lines out to me every single time he's in a scene. But he's just so ridiculously pantomime that I can't. I was just getting annoyed with him. I'll be honest with you. I know there's probably people out there that were just loving every scene that he was in, but maybe it's the mood I was in. maybe another time I would have found it funny, but no, I was getting genuinely just like, I can't swear, but go away, soul deed.
Yeah.
But with swear words.
So do you think this is more of a... So who hams it up more then? Because currently for us, the crown goes to Michael Collins, doesn't it? Is it Michael Collins?
Yeah,
from the Deadly Assassin.
I think Graham's giving him a run for his money for sure.
Actually,
Definitely.
not Deadly Assassin. Sorry, Robots of Death.
Robots of Death. Yeah.
So, yeah, I can't. I mean, I think he is giving him a run for his. Yeah, like you say,
Very
for
good
sure.
run for money.
I would say that I'm pretty sure that he's doing this intentionally. I think he's acting this way completely. I think what I mean is he's over the top intentionally. I don't think he's just one of these actors that just, a bit of a diva and just, hams it up all the time.
No.
I do think he's doing it, completely intentionally. But yeah, it does get annoying after about 3 seconds.
I found him really annoying. It's funny because I thought I might find him funny as well, because obviously if I think of Haunted Nimon, I didn't remember much about it, but I do remember him, especially because that famous scene where he dies at the end, and the story goes that he thought it was a rehearsal, which is why he's so over the top, and they left the laugh in, and apparently they were like, right, that's that scene in the can, let's move on. And he was like, oh, I thought we were rehearsing, apparently. Yeah, he's too over the top for me. He's, I'm all for a bit of camp villain, but he's too much. I just was like, oh, tone it down, mate. The facial expressions as well. It's as if he's tripping off his... It's just way too much. Do you know what's bizarre? He was offered the part of the Fourth Doctor and turned it down. He could have been our Fourth Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, can you imagine? I think he'd have finished the show off, mate. Honestly. If he gave a performance like that, I think Doctor Who would have been axed in the 70s.
He would have finished the show off.
I think he would. I just cannot imagine him every week. No, it's really strange as well. I wonder how he feels about the fact that he turned down the part of the Fourth Doctor, because I don't think he's with us any longer, is he? But
no, he isn't. No.
No. I mean, I've got nothing against Graham Crowder, by the way, because I've seen him in other things. He's actually quite a nice. He can give a nice performance. I mean, he was in that series. What was it? Waiting for God, was it, or something?
Waiting for God, yeah.
That comedy series
back
for
in
years.
the 90s, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember that, but
I do.
He was, that was quite a nice performance from him, and so he can tone it down. But yeah, for me, it doesn't work in this at all. And the thought of him being cast as the Fourth Doctor, I never realised that Tom was like second or third choice either. I don't know why. I've always assumed Tom Baker was the first choice Doctor. So that was quite interesting to read that on the production subtitles. So I'm just very glad Tom got the gig. Let's put it that way.
No, I agree. It's weird, yeah, because Graham Crowden himself, I remember watching him in an episode years ago of Dr. Terrible's House of Horrible, which was this funny comedy that was on 2002 or 3 or something like that. And he was really good in that. He played Professor McLuhan. I don't know, he was obviously, matured a lot and, and so, because he wasn't young when he did Doctor Who, but you can tell that his acting had sort of matured a bit. But in this, it's just scene after scene is constant, like, going nuts with it. However, having said that, it does make the story more watchable when he's in it, because you are intrigued and annoyed at the same time. So
I just wanted him to get eaten by a Nimon, because he keeps banging on about the Nimons, how they're his friend. I'm thinking they're really not.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted him to get his comeuppance. I know he kind of does, but yeah, not in the way he should have, I don't think.
I know exactly what you mean. He's banging on about, my busy mate, the Nimon. Yeah. And, I know what you mean. It's just, I know.
He doesn't work in it for me, but you're right. He does make it slightly more interesting, for sure.
Quickly want to touch on K9 then. So
yeah, what's up with his voice?
Yeah, so not voiced by
John Leeson.
John Leeson, yeah, sorry. But David Brearley. Now, why was he voiced by David Brearley?
I don't know, is the honest answer. And do you know what? I always forget that someone else did K9 for a while, because John Leeson did it first, and then for maybe it's just for one series. I'm not sure. I'm sure people listening know, but for some reason, I don't know if John decided he didn't want to do it anymore. But for some reason, I think we get a series, if I'm right, of David Brearley doing it, and then back in the Leisure Hive, the next story, John Leeson comes back.
Yes.
Until K9 leaves. So yeah, it's strange, isn't it? Because I always forget that there's someone else that doing K9. I always just think of John Leeson. So I'm quite thrown when we get this different voice.
Yeah, I was thrown, to be honest, because I forgot that John Leeson wasn't voicing K9 during this time.
Yeah.
Which is weird. And I will be honest with you, I think because John Leeson does it in such an iconic way, he's got that voice that's a lot more high-pitched, and I don't know, John Leeson's K9's just a lot cheekier to me and a little bit more playful and a bit more character to it, where I thought that David Brearley's performance, especially in this one, was just really plain and not much character to it. I mean, it was bad. I was going to say it wasn't too bad, but it was pretty bad, actually. It just doesn't have that same John Leeson feel and character and playfulness.
It doesn't. And it does just sound like somebody trying to do John Leeson doing K9. Yeah, it doesn't really work for me. I wouldn't say it's bad, in all honesty, but it's, it doesn't have the same feel at all, Yeah.
If you think about some really cool scenes if you think about what story was it where the Doctor's playing chess with K9, and that's voiced by John Leeson.
Yeah.
Those scenes are so great because of the voice of Leeson, and, whereas scenes like this, because the Doctor and K9 do have a couple of nice scenes in this, like where he thinks K9's bitten the dust and then he does a ridiculous CPR thing. And there's a bit where he thinks the asteroid or the small planet's going to wipe out the TARDIS, so he sort of hugs K9 and, so there are some nice scenes where they're quite close, the Doctor, and you can tell that Tom Baker's really playing up to that, thinks he's an actual dog pet at times,
Yeah, I suppose so, because I don't know, because John Leeson in rehearsals, used to walk around on the floor and actually act with Tom Baker and Lala Ward and stuff. So they had a great rapport, didn't they? They got on very well.
Yeah.
Now it's possible, and I don't know, maybe David Brearley didn't do that. So maybe they haven't got that same rapport, if you like. But that's a good example. I do totally get what you mean.
Yeah.
I was just looking actually to see why John Leeson left. So apparently, as much as he apparently had a great rapport with Tom, they got on really well, but he became frustrated with the limitations of the character, so decided to leave after the 16th series in 1979.
Right.
For which point David Brearley took over for 4 stories.
That's right.
Obviously, because Sharda never got completed. And then it was actually John Nathan Turner, apparently lured him back, managed to convince him to come back with the promise that if he did, he would kill off K9. Which, of course, he never did.
He never did, no.
He didn't kill him off, did he? Because he just leaves with Romana. So, yeah, it was John Nathan Turner that apparently managed to tempt John Leeson back for the next series. So I'm glad he did, though, because you're right. John Leeson is K9, end of.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's a bit final. End of. But yeah, he is, yeah.
Sounds a bit harsh, towards David Brearley, but, it's just one of those things. When you have such an iconic voice for a character, it's very difficult then to associate that character with someone else's voice, I suppose. But
yeah,
there we go. Rightio, Lala Ward then.
Lala, she's good in this, I think. For me,
really good.
She holds this together. And Romana's got a Sonic, and I don't remember that. I was like, blimey, I don't remember Romana having a Sonic. And I loved the scene where the Doctor tries to swap it for his own, like she's gonna have that. This is what I like about Romana's character, is she's a bit like Lala Ward, isn't she? She doesn't take any nonsense.
Yeah.
So, but I love that scene where he's like, well, it's not a bad Sonic, I suppose, it's all right, and then he tries to steal it. I thought it was brilliant. So no, I think she's really good in this. I really like her in it. She's she's got to do scared acting against the Nimon, which isn't easy, but she does it all right, and she's strong in the scene she's in. She's nice in the subtle scenes with Sorak. I think she's really good in it. She's good with Tom as well. I'm assuming they were getting on okay at this point, because I was looking to see if Tom would look at her, because there are stories where you can tell that they've had an argument. He refuses to look at her at all. But they actually, I think they make for a great team in this story. I really thought they sparred off each other quite well.
No, I agree, mate. You can definitely tell those stories where they've had a bit of a tiff.
A Barney, he won't look at her.
He just won't interact really.
He won't look at her at all.
Yeah.
No, it's bizarre.
This one's really nice though, and you definitely get to see that, albeit right at the very end. You know, that in that clip that I played where he says, "Not you, the TARDIS." She does this little thing where she sort of scrunches her face up at him.
And then there's a laugh, which almost seems like a really natural laugh. And I wondered if they left that in, but thinking, we should have cut there, but that's quite nice. We'll leave it in.
Yeah,
it's lovely.
Little scenes like that, you can tell that they work so well together, and they've got a great sort of chemistry between them. But I did think that she almost sort of stole the show a little bit in this one, which is not a bad thing.
And it's not an easy thing to do with Tom Baker.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, correct. Yeah. And I think that she, the Sonic's really cool. I like the touch that she's made her own Sonic. And but she loses it. She slams it down on the side, doesn't she? In the ship, and then she runs off, and then that's it. So she only has it for one story, and then she typically just leaves it behind. And
it's a shame. I'm sure she could build another one.
Yeah,
but it's a shame we don't see it again. Yeah,
but no, I liked her performance. I thought that it was a good contrast to Tom, because like I said earlier, I thought Tom was playing this there was quite a lot of humour from Tom.
Yeah.
And he was being quite sarcastic in a lot of scenes. And not that he wasn't taking it seriously, but he was very laid back and very comical in a lot of it, where I think Lala Ward's performance was a lot more serious. She was playing it a bit more, a bit more intensity with her, and she was a bit more serious with it. And I just think that really suited the programme, actually, because I think if they were both like that, it'd be a bit full on.
Yeah, it'd just be too much comedy. You wouldn't take any of it seriously, and it's hard enough to take serious as it is.
Yeah. No. Yeah. So I liked her. I thought she was strong. Actually, that's probably the best word I can describe for her. She was very strong in this one. She didn't take any nonsense from anybody. She was very stand up for herself and the Annets that were there to be sacrificed. And she didn't take any nonsense from Tom either.
No, she doesn't. I'm just laughing, actually, because you just reminded me. It's very funny. There is a scene in it where she suddenly realizes she's left half what are they called?
The Annets.
Anna, if she's left half of them behind, it takes her a blooming long time to notice. Do you know what I mean? She's walking around with two of them. She's like, where's the rest of them?
Yeah.
Oh, they're back there being killed by the Nimon. Oh, are they? Oh, blimey, I didn't even notice. Do you know what I mean? She just, I guess she had a lot on her mind, so it's fair enough. But she definitely kept me interested in the story, let's put it that way. She kept it, she added something enough to make me, keep enjoying what was going on, because, it's it's got its problems, this one.
No, yeah. I agree, mate.
But her and Tom together, I think, just spar with each other brilliantly.
Yeah,
they were fun to watch.
And we've spoken about Tom. I don't think I've got much more to say on him, really. I just thought he was. Don't get me wrong, he wasn't his best performance that I've seen from Tom by a long shot. However, he was, and it's really weird because I'm not really. I'll be honest, mate. I'm not a huge fan of Tom in series 16 and 17.
No, I'm not. No.
And I don't mean that disrespectfully.
Well, I do like him, but I know what you mean. It's not my favourite era.
Yeah, I mean, but there's a couple of. I mean, series 16 doesn't really have much to offer. Really, I can't really think of a really amazing standout story from there. City of Death is, a cracking story from series 17, and him and Lala are really good in that. And he's a great performance, but really that's your lot for me. I don't know what it is, but just 16 and 17, there's just nothing really pulls me in. If I'm going to watch a Tom story, I hardly ever navigate towards these series just before we get on to the,
Well, I struggle with the Key to Time one, and it's, I find Tom, and it's not really down to Tom. I think he was told to lighten it up because they felt the Philip Hinchcliffe era had got too dark, and it got loads of complaints from old Mary Whitehouse and all that. So they've tried to lighten it, but I struggle with Key to Time, I must admit. Things do get better. There are little gems in the Graham Williams era, like you said, City of Death. Destiny of the Daleks is okay if I'm in the mood. You know what I mean? There are some nice little stories hidden in there as well, but I know what you mean. Tom's different, then again, we change again with the next series. So when we get to Leisure Hive, he's in his burgundy, and he's very, very different to this. He's very broody, and it almost goes completely the opposite to the lightheartedness. But I liked him in this. There's that scene where he thumps the console, and we get the worst comedy sound effect in Doctor Who. I don't know how you feel about that.
The spring boing.
It goes
thing.
on forever.
Yeah.
I didn't mind it, actually, if I'm honest, but I could imagine a lot of Doctor Who fans groaning at that scene. But yeah, you can tell the reins have been let off, and I think it was quite good, actually, when we get JNT on board. He reins him back in for a short while, which is probably why he's so broody. Yeah. But he's right. He does the job, I think, in this one.
He does. And like I said, he's quite funny in it, and he's very laid back and stuff. And it's never going to stand out as one of Tom's best, but
no,
he's not bad. Something about 16 and 17 I just can't get into, especially the Key to Time stuff, and then most of these stories from 17 I just can't get into it as much as some of his earlier stuff. But
I hear you.
Yeah.
Well, what did you think of the music? Because this is the last time Dudley Simpson would have scored, and obviously he's got a great track record with Doctor Who. Personally, I love Dudley's music, absolutely love it. So yeah, he will be replaced by an electronic keyboard on the next series, because they wanted to give it a more modern feel, didn't they? So it's Dudley's last score for Doctor Who, but for me, it was nice, but I mean, nothing stood out. I wouldn't say, it's a brilliant way for him to go out. He probably didn't even realise he was going out on this one, but yeah, it was okay. It was nice. It just fitted with the era, really, didn't it? And nothing stand out. Just fitted nicely.
Yeah, he was a great composer, actually. He did have some.
Oh, I love his stuff.
Some good stuff. Yeah, I think. Yeah, it was okay. I mean, the thing is, it's not memorable for me. I mean,
exactly? It's nothing memorable.
Yeah, whilst I'm watching it, I'm thinking, that's quite cool, and it's not bad. But then after I've watched it, it doesn't stick in my head, So, but yeah, not too bad, mate.
Yeah, exactly the same.
Yeah. Anything else you want to mention before our scorers?
No, that's it, buddy. I'm done.
Right. Whose turn is it to go first? I'll go first.
You go first.
I'll go in with a 5.
I thought you would. Middle of the road.
Yeah.
I'm going in just slightly higher with a 6.
A 6?
A 6, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Not bad.
Not bad at all.
For me, the thing with this story is it doesn't go anywhere. Like when it ended.
Right, yeah.
It's just, okay, like you said, we have an explosion. Off they go in the TARDIS. It doesn't have enough substance to be any higher for me. So although I quite enjoyed watching it, I just found it just, when the credits rolled, I just went, that was that then. I mean, it doesn't leave you don't sort of think, God, that was really good, or that was really bad. It's just kind of there, isn't it? So, yeah, a bit middle of the road.
Yeah, no, I agree, mate. Yeah, well, totally middle of the road for me. It's only because some of the performances, especially Lala Ward's performance, is really good, and then the hilarity of, most of the other stuff, it makes it a bit more watchable. But there we go, 5 and a 6.
Yeah.
What did our lovely listeners think? Now, we got 5 audio clips in for this, so thank you very much for that. But due to our problems with recording last week and so on, I completely forgot to put a Facebook post out asking you for your thoughts on that.
Oh, did you? Oh, right. I hadn't realised. Otherwise, I'd have put one. Sorry, I hadn't even noticed we didn't put that out.
Yeah, so I'm very sorry about that. So I had a couple of tweets, that's about it, but we are going to kick off with these audio clips. So the first one is newcomer to audio reviews. This is George Puddy.
Hello, Gary and Adam. It's me, George Puddy from Pickers Park Reviews. Sorry for the plug. Now, it's The Horns of Nimon, a classic episode. I love the Fourth Doctor, but I haven't watched many classics. I am trying to get into them, don't you worry. I have watched An Unearthly Child, a bit of the Daleks, Robot, a bit of the Ark in Space, and a bit of Time in the Rani. But anyway, points of interest, I quite enjoyed this story. The Anathenian actors were a bit rubbish, the ones in the Yoshas. Tom Baker and Lala Ward were brilliant as always. I really do love that TARDIS team, one of my favourites. The effects are slightly dated. I know you can't judge a classic episode on its effects, but I thought these were especially poor. David Borelli, the person who's standing in for John Leeson as the K9 voice, doesn't really sound anything like John Leeson as K9B still, but it's a good performance. One personal connection to me, because I'm currently reading the Sharda novelisation, so this tied in quite nicely and get me more into the era as well. Did you notice Romana's Sonic looked quite a lot like Tennant's? Maybe Tennant's was inspired by it. I love the Nimons design, and Graham Crowden is not all threatening as Soldeed. So those are my points of interest. Thank you, Gary and Adam. If I was going to give it a score, this may seem harsh, but I am trying to cut back because I have been quite generous with my 10, so I'm trying to cut back. I'd have to give it a 6 out of 10, but I did thoroughly enjoy it. I just think it's a bit average. So thank you. I'll see you guys next week. Ta-da!
Yay, George.
Thank you, George Puddy. Okay.
There's some good moments there. Did you think her Sonic looked a bit like Tennant's?
I didn't at the time, but now he mentions it. Yeah,
have to
possibly,
go back and check that. Yeah. This is, now I'm going to say Maria's surname wrong. I'm pretty sure of it.
Go on.
This is
She's used to it.
Maria Kalitachow, I think.
Hi Gary and Adam, it's Maria here. So I just watched The Horns of Nimon tonight, which I haven't seen before, and it's a very odd tale indeed. The good stuff that I liked was Tom and Lala's performance. Normally I'm not a fan of Lala's Romana because she can seem a bit cold, but I did like her here because she was quite tough when she had to be with the ship's captain, and also when she had to travel to the other planet, and she did look brilliant in that red coat. Tom I liked as well. Normally when you read stuff about the Horns of Nimon, they kind of make out that it's very camp. And I was expecting that from Tom, but he was actually at times, he did put some jokes in, but he was quite serious at times as well. And I didn't mind that. What I also liked was, given that they had a very limited budget, and it was all studio shot, that they were using the lighting in quite an effective way, turning things down, not having it too bright. I couldn't get used to K9 not being voiced by John Leeson. It just sounded wrong. It didn't sound right at all. I couldn't get used to that. Thika really got on my nerves, the way she kind of was very fawning over Seta, and she was so wimpy. Jeffrey Crowden at the beginning seemed okay, but then there were times when he was really hamming it up, and it was like he was performing at the theatre. The Nimon themselves, the design wasn't brilliant. I mean, you could see it was a man in with a head mask, and the way they moved was quite awkward. Overall, not a story I would probably turn to again in a hurry, and I'd say 5 out of 10 for me.
Thank you very much, Maria.
5 out of 10, agreeing with you, yeah.
I had to edit Maria's review down quite a lot because there's a couple more minutes worth of stuff in there. So I really appreciate the time that you took, Maria, to do that audio clip, but we just can't play them too long because we need to get through them. But thank you so much for recording. I did listen to the whole thing before I edited it, and it was really good. So thank you very much. Right, Loopy Lou.
Loopy Lou.
Hello. The Horns of Nimon. This was a second time watch for me. I don't really remember it though because it was so long ago. Plus, I probably blocked it from my memory because it's so bad. Anyway, I recognised Soul Lead straight away, Graham Crowden, because he was in A Very Peculiar Practice with Peter Davison. Does anybody remember that? Apparently, he turned down the role of the Doctor, which actually I think was a shame because he would have made quite an eccentric Doctor. He's obviously very panto in this, but I swear his acting is much better in other things, honestly. Having said that, I think the episode would have been really boring without the ham. Honestly, I think the best character in this was K9. 4 out of 10.
4.
4 out of 10, yes.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lou.
She's right. It would have been a lesser story without the ham, for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. Sammy Satine from Down Under.
Hi, Gary and Adam, Sammy Satine here. So, The Horns of Nimon. If you've ever listened to Time Lord fairy tales, there's a story in there narrated by Tom featuring the Nimon. I think Tom really enjoys saying Nimon. Anyway, check them out if you haven't already. I love Romana's red coat. A Nimon look a bit silly. I laughed when I saw one. Why is John Leeson not voicing K9? I love the Fourth Doctor and Romana and K9. I'm listening to the Big Finish series at the moment. Check that out if you haven't. But this story is just a mess. 4 out of 10. See ya.
Another 4.
Oh dear, a mess.
A mess indeed. A lot of love for Romana's red coat.
Yeah. She does rock that red coat, though, to be fair.
She rocks it.
Yeah.
And lastly, this is James Coleman.
Hi Gary and Adam, here's my review of The Horns of Nimon. So I think this was a boring story with a very slow start. The Doctor doesn't seem very interesting, and Romana probably gives the strongest performance throughout the story. I think K9 isn't really focused on much, and I don't really like David Burley as the voice actor, and I prefer John Leeson much more. The supporting characters are quite forgettable, apart from Solid, who's just too over the top. The Nimon weren't very threatening, had a very bland design, and I thought they had a very weird voice. The sets were very generic and pretty dull, and there wasn't really anything engaging in this story, so I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!
Oh dear, James.
A 3.
It's getting worse.
Yeah, it is.
So that's our audio clips. Thank you so much, guys, for taking the time.
I love the audio clips.
Yeah, they're so cool. We really appreciate it because it's really nice to have those drop in the inbox. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, you got another audio clip. And I promise I do listen to all of them, even before I have to do any editing and stuff like that. And then we listen to them again on the show. So it's really cool that you take the time to record those and send them in. So thank you very much. As I said, I completely forgot to put a post out because we were a bit all over the place last week. So I'm very sorry. I assume, as you didn't either, mate, you haven't got any comments from anybody.
No, I did. I did put one out. Yeah. No. Sorry, I meant I would have put one out on the podcast. I just hadn't noticed it wasn't there. But yeah, I did put one out. So I got a couple of comments. Gavrick Sawyer, that's a good name, isn't it? Gavrick. Sounds like nice. Sounds like Gavrok. Says, I just watched it for the first time on my full classic Who rewatch. Tom is high as hell. Is he? Soldeed is almost as mental, and the Nimons walk like drunk toddlers. The story is quite compelling, though, so 7 out of 10. I would definitely recommend it to experienced Whovians, but it definitely isn't a story for newcomers. Yes, that's a very good point. Kevin Mullen says, despite its pantomime performances from everybody involved, with the exception of the wonderful Lila Ward, there is much to enjoy, although it's obvious that Tom was given carte blanche to do whatever he wants to the deterriment of the drama. One thing the Nimon have going for them is their incredible voices, and the idea of space locusts moving from planet to planet, draining the resources, is an excellent one. So Kevin gives it a 6.5 out of 10. Dean Jones says it's very average. Tom and Lala are great. The rest of the performances are decent enough, but the characters aren't that interesting. The production values are lackluster, which is a shame since certain props and costumes are well made. The story itself is okay. He just didn't find it very engaging. Not bad, but not great either. Dean gives it 5 out of 10. Martin Arnold, this season never seems to be a fan favourite, but for me it contains my earliest memories of the show. He says he would have been 6 when this was broadcast, so if only for nostalgia reasons, he gives it an 8 out of 10. He says, I've always had a soft spot for Greek myth, and I think despite the low production values in the form of noisy flooring, it really works. Soul Deed is deliciously over the top. He says, cheers and welcome back. I knew somebody out there would love Soul Deed. I'm sure lots of people do. And 2 more comments. Charlie Turner just says, sigh. Okay, this story is weak. Used to be my least favourite of Tom Baker before he completed the Sunmakers. Unfortunately, he doesn't like Horns of Nimon, so he gives it a 2.5 out of 10. He says, nothing more, nothing less, says Charlie, just telling us straight. And finally, Jace House says, despite poor Nimon costumes and some outrageous overacting, he thinks it's a cracking little story. So there you go. It's a bit of a mixed bag, isn't it, this one?
Okie dokie.
Yeah.
Here's a mixed bag.
Not bad. It's not one that gets, I don't think it gets slayed, though. There's nobody here that's really hated it, is there? Apart from Charlie.
Yeah,
he
Charlie.
Gave it a 2, yeah, apart from old Charlie. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it gets slayed. However, we've had real mixed bags in the past where we've had people giving things a 10 and other people giving the same story a 3 and stuff like that. I think this one, it doesn't get any higher than, what, a 6 or a 7?
True, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, I think it's definitely, we can safely say this one's a true run-of-the-mill, mediocre.
Middle of the road.
What other verbs can we use? I don't know. Anyway, adjectives, sorry. We can give this one. I don't know. But yeah, definitely middle of the road. So thank you. Apologies again. I sucked last week at stuff. However, we'll need to make sure that my A game is strong for next week, because we have an important review next week. We've come to the end of the road for a certain Doctor. So next week, dude, what are we going to review?
Yeah, so we've just wrapped up the Capaldi era, so now we're going to be wrapping up the 9th Doctor era. So we'll be doing Bad Wolf next week. And then the following week we will do Parting of the Ways. So we will wrap up the 9th Doctor reviews next week with those two. Yeah. So starting with Bad Wolf. So Bad Wolf next week.
Yeah, so no alternate for the next couple of weeks. It's Eccleston for the next 2 weeks. And I knew this day would come. I knew this day would come, but it doesn't make it any easier. It's such a shame that Eccleston didn't do more Doctor Who, because now we've run out of episodes for him to review.
Yeah.
So, and we thought, didn't we, that it's best to do these two together because they're a two-parter, and it'd be weird to do this and then 3 months or 4 months later do the next part. So
that's it.
Yeah. So Bad Wolf. So look out for the Facebook stuff and all that to get your thoughts in on that one. And I think we're going to do there for 157.
Okay.
Thank you so much for welcoming us back and sticking with us for episode 157. It's been awesome to be back behind the microphone and going through all the stuff, all the news and merch, and our review of the Horns of Nimon. If you're looking for recommendations, probably don't pick this one up first. If you're looking to dive into the 4th Doctor's era, or maybe pick this one up first as a warm-up before you get on to the good stuff.
Yeah.
Depends on how you look at it, I suppose. But yeah, thank you again for sending in your reviews, your audio clips, and so on. Next week, Bad Wolf, as we close out our era of the 9th Doctor, Mr. E. Mr. Eccleston. I've not seen this one in a little while. I have seen it multiple times. I think I've watched this two-parter maybe 4 or 5 times over the last few years, but I haven't seen it in a while though, so it's going to be great to stick that back on.
Yes.
And give that a watch.
I'm looking forward to seeing a bit of Nine and Rose, yep.
Yeah. So head over to the website www.bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to all of our previous episodes on there. Plus you can link off to all of the social platforms and give us a like and a follow, because we're always active on those, having a chat with other Who fans and updates and so on. Also check out the website, check out the podcast on iTunes. If you're an iTunes listener, a review and a rating would be awesome if you've got 2 minutes. That really helps us out a lot. Plus we're on all the other podcast platforms and directories and so on, so give us a subscribe. Remember to check out Adam's channel, The Geek's Handbag.
Oh yes, indeed.
The Geek's Handbag, just search for that on YouTube, give him a subscribe and all that jazz. Awesome stuff from Adam and his vidjos. So we will see you next week for episode 158.
That's the one.
That's the one, sorry.
Yeah.
I was thinking 157. No, we've just literally done that one. So 158 next week. We look forward to seeing you then. Until then, my name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember...